The spaceship moved slowly into position above the purple planet. Kate Morrison stood near the large window, watching the clouds swirl below. She had been traveling through space for 18 months, and now she was finally here. This planet was called Carveth Prime, and it was home to aliens who had agreed to meet humans for the first time. Kate was a soldier and a scientist. She understood how to talk to new people and how to study strange creatures. The alien groups, called the Coalition, had been very careful about meeting humans. They had sent messages back and forth for many months before allowing any human to visit their worlds. The aliens were afraid of humans. Kate knew this from all the reports she had read. Humans were predators. They had eyes that faced forward, like hunters. They ate meat. They had climbed to the top of the food chain on Earth by hunting and killing. The aliens found this scary, even though humans had also created art, music, and peaceful societies. Captain Richard Hayes walked into the room. His boots made clicking sounds on the metal floor. He looked at Kate and said, "We can land now. The council gave us permission. They want to meet with us tomorrow, but they have prepared rooms for us in the city." Kate turned away from the window. "Do we need to follow any special rules?" Richard paused before answering. "They asked us to control our predator instincts. No fast movements, no showing our teeth, no aggressive body language." Kate understood what that meant. "So we cannot smile." "Yes, that is right." The ship landed without any problems. Within a few hours, Kate and the other humans were walking through the streets of the alien city. The buildings looked like crystals growing from the ground. They were connected by bridges that hummed with energy. The alien citizens stayed far away from the humans, watching them with large, compound eyes. The rooms prepared for them were large and designed for human bodies, though the furniture was a bit too low and the doors were a bit too wide. Kate unpacked her bags carefully. She laid out her uniforms and equipment. Her boots, which were old and comfortable, she placed near the door. She was about to read the plans for tomorrow's meeting when she heard a strange sound. It was a soft, chittering noise. Kate froze immediately, her instincts alert. The sound came from near the doorway. She moved slowly toward it and found that her boots had been moved several feet from where she had left them. More importantly, there were small tracks in the dust near the entrance. The prints had 3 toes and were no bigger than a human child's hand. Kate knelt down to look at the tracks more closely. The Coalition had told them about several species that lived on this planet, but they had not mentioned anything about children being in the diplomatic compound. A soft scraping sound came from under her bed. Kate turned her head slowly and saw something small and furry dart behind her equipment case. It was not one of the insect aliens she had seen in the city. This was something different. She sat back on her heels and thought about what to do. The creature was clearly young, based on its size and behavior. It had taken her boots as a joke or because it was curious. If she chased it, the creature would probably become frightened. The last thing she needed was to cause an incident by scaring a local child. Instead, Kate did something that would have confused the aliens watching her. She laughed. It was not a mean laugh or a threatening sound. It was a real, warm laugh that came from deep in her belly. "All right, little one," she said softly, keeping her voice gentle. "I guess you think you are very clever, don't you?" The scraping sound stopped. Kate could feel eyes watching her from the shadows. "Those are my favorite boots, you know," she continued, sitting cross-legged on the floor. "I have had them for 3 years. I walked across half of Earth in them. I even wore them during my first spacewalk, though that probably was not the smartest thing to do." A small nose came out from behind the equipment case. The creature looked like a mix between a fox and a cat. It had large amber eyes and pointed ears with tufts of fur. Its fur was silver and blue mixed together, and it was no more than 2 feet long. Kate smiled but kept her lips closed so she would not show her teeth. She remembered that might look threatening. Instead, she kept her face soft and her body relaxed. "Hello there." The creature made the chittering sound again, but softer this time. Then, to Kate's surprise, it ran forward quickly and dropped something at her feet, before running back to a safe distance. Kate looked down. It was a small carved stone, smooth and warm. She picked it up carefully and held it in the light. The work was beautiful. The stone had been shaped to look like some kind of animal. "Is this for me?" Kate asked, holding up the stone. "That is very kind of you." The creature's ears moved forward, and it made a trilling sound that seemed happy or excited. Before Kate could do anything else, it ran away, disappearing through a vent in the wall that she had not noticed before. Kate sat there for a long moment holding the carved stone and looking at her moved boots. Then she laughed again, softer this time. She wondered what exactly she had gotten herself into. The stone was still warm in her hand. She looked at the small three-toed tracks in the dust and smiled. Tomorrow she would meet with the Alien Council and discuss important diplomatic matters. But tonight, she had been visited by a curious child who had left her a gift. Kate stood up and retrieved her boots from the middle of the floor. She placed them back near the door, then put the carved stone on the small table next to her bed. She would keep it safe. As she prepared for sleep, Kate thought about the creature. It had been afraid at first, hiding in the shadows. But it had been brave enough to come out and leave a gift. That took courage. The aliens in the coalition thought humans were dangerous predators. They were not wrong. Humans had hunted and killed to survive. But humans were also capable of kindness. They could choose to be gentle. They could choose to protect instead of harm. Kate hoped that tomorrow's meetings would go well. She hoped that the aliens would see that humans wanted peace and friendship. But even if the meetings did not go perfectly, she had already made one small friend on this strange planet. She turned off the lights and lay down on the bed. The room was quiet, except for the soft humming of the energy bridges outside. Kate closed her eyes and thought about the small creature with silver and blue fur. She wondered if it would come back. In the vent, hidden from view, 3 pairs of amber eyes watched the human sleep. The cubs had been told that humans were monsters who ate children. But this human had laughed. She had spoken kindly. She had accepted their gift. The cubs looked at each other in the darkness. Tomorrow they would come back. They would bring more gifts. They would test the human again and see if she was truly as kind as she seemed. The bravest cub, the one with silver and blue fur, made a soft, trilling sound. The human had warm eyes. Predator eyes were supposed to be cold and cruel. But this human's eyes had been gentle when she smiled. The cubs retreated deeper into the vents, planning their next visit. The human's boots would be safe tonight, but tomorrow the game would continue. The next morning did not go as Kate had expected. She stood in the council chamber with Captain Hayes and Dr. Lisa Grant, their language expert. The leader of the insect aliens, whose name was Tekvar, spoke to them with what the translator called barely hidden worry. "We must apologize for what happened last night," Tekvar said. His mouth parts clicked together in a way that showed he was upset. "The young ones were not supposed to be in your living area. We promise that this will not happen again." Kate looked at Captain Hayes, then back at the alien leader. "Council leader, may I ask what species the young ones were? Our information did not say anything about children being here." Tekvar's antennas drooped down. "They are Rithani. Their people are under our protection. The cubs are curious by nature, but we told them to stay away from predator species." "Predator species," Kate repeated slowly. "You mean humans. Your presence here is important, Lieutenant Commander Morrison. But you must understand that many coalition species find humans terrifying. Your kind hunted large animals to extinction on your home world. You eat meat. You have weapons designed by predator minds." Tekvar stopped talking for a moment. "The Rithani are especially at risk. They are a prey species. They evolved to run and hide. Having them near humans is considered dangerous." Dr. Grant stepped forward. "Council leader, with respect, humans have lived alongside prey species on Earth for thousands of years. We have made many species into pets. We have formed bonds with them. Not all predator and prey relationships end in violence." "Pets," Tekvar said, and his tone made the translator struggle before settling on a word that meant both horror and fascination. "Yes, we know about this practice. It is one of the reasons your species frightens us." The rest of the meeting was tense but professional. They talked about trade agreements and sharing scientific knowledge. But Kate's mind kept going back to the small furry creature in her room. A prey species taught to fear predators by instinct and culture, but curious enough to steal her boots and leave a gift. When they returned to their rooms that evening, Kate found that her boots had been moved again. This time they were in the middle of the room. Around them was a collection of small objects. There were more carved stones, some seed pods, what looked like rope made from plant fibers, and a small crystal piece that caught the light beautifully. Captain Hayes walked past her open door and stopped to stare. "What is all this?" "I think," Kate said, slowly kneeling down to look at the gifts, "I am being adopted." Over the next 3 days, the same thing happened again and again. Kate would wake up to find her things moved. There were small paw prints everywhere. New gifts appeared in the pile. She started leaving her own gifts. She left a patch from her uniform, a protein bar which disappeared right away, and a small tool that she thought was safe enough. On the 4th night, she finally got to meet her visitors properly. Kate had positioned herself near the vent, reading a book on her data pad with the lights turned low. She did not look up when she heard the soft sound of small bodies entering the room, but she did speak quietly. "Good evening, little ones. Did you come to take my things again?" 3 small Rithani cubs came out from different hiding spots. They were young, just as Kate had thought. Their movements were still clumsy and playful. They made chittering sounds to each other in their own language, clearly talking about whether to get closer to the predator. Kate very slowly put down her data pad and reached for the small bag she had prepared. "I brought you something today," she said, keeping her voice low and gentle. "The kitchen had these sweet vegetables. I thought you might like them." She rolled one of the vegetables across the floor. The bravest cub, the same silver and blue one from the first night, jumped on it with clear delight. The other 2, one with red-brown fur and one with white markings, moved closer slowly. "That is it," Kate said encouragingly. "I am not going to hurt you. I know you have been told that humans are dangerous, and I suppose in some ways we are. But we do not hurt children. That is not what we do." The cub with white markings came close to her carefully, its nose moving. It reached out with one tiny paw and touched Kate's hand. Kate stayed perfectly still, letting the cub investigate. After a moment, the cub made a soft trilling sound and rubbed its head against her fingers. Kate felt something tight in her chest. The trust being offered was amazing. These cubs had every natural reason to fear her, yet here they were, overcoming that fear because they were curious and perhaps lonely. "Your parents must be worried about you," Kate said, gently scratching behind the cub's ears the way she used to pet her childhood cat. "Does anyone know you are here?" The red-brown cub brought her another gift. This one was a small woven bag that smelled slightly of herbs. Kate opened it carefully and found it filled with dried flowers. "This is beautiful," she said honestly. "Thank you." For the next hour, Kate sat with the cubs as they played around her. They brought her toys and small treasures. They looked at her equipment with fearless curiosity. They climbed on her bed and examined her uniforms. One even tried to fit inside her boot, getting stuck. Kate had to carefully help it out, which made all of them make sounds that she could only think of as laughter. When they finally left through the vent, Kate sat surrounded by alien toys and gifts. She realized that something important had changed. These cubs did not see her as a predator. They saw her as something else entirely. The question was, what did the rest of the coalition see? The next day brought new challenges. Kate was attending a cultural exchange ceremony in the large exhibition hall. The insect aliens had prepared displays of their art and technology. The humans had brought samples of Earth culture, including music, books, and visual art. It was meant to be a celebration of cooperation and understanding. Kate stood looking at a beautiful piece of alien sculpture when she heard a familiar chittering sound. Her head turned slightly and she saw all 3 cubs trying to hide behind a display stand. They were watching her, their ears pointed forward with interest. She held back a smile and turned her attention back to the sculpture, but kept the cubs in the corner of her eye. They were following her, she realized. They had been following her all day. She had caught glimpses of silver and blue fur and white markings throughout the ceremony. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison," a new voice said. Kate turned to find herself facing an adult Rithani for the first time. The being was nearly 5 feet tall with the same basic body shape as the cubs but more refined features. Its fur was deep amber-colored. "I am Elder Sierra. I believe you have met my granddaughter and her friends." Kate straightened up, suddenly aware that this could be a diplomatic problem. "Elder Sierra. Yes, the cubs have been visiting my room. I hope I have not caused any trouble." Syra's ears twitched in a pattern Kate could not understand. Trouble, the elder repeated. The cubs were told to stay away from the human delegation. They were told that humans are dangerous predators who might hurt them. I would never, Kate began, but Syra raised a paw. I know. That is what concerns me. Syra looked past Kate to where the cubs were hiding. Come here, little ones. The 3 cubs came out slowly, their heads lowered in what was clearly a submissive position. They walked toward Syra but kept looking at Kate. Tell the human what you told me, Syra said gently. The silver and blue cub, the bravest one, stepped forward. Through the translator, Kate heard a young, uncertain voice. We wanted to test if the stories were true. If humans really eat cubs and take their furs, Kate's stomach felt sick. What? The Coalition has told many stories about humans, Syra explained, her tone carefully neutral. Some true, some made bigger than they really are, some made up out of fear. The young ones hear these stories and become curious. They decided to investigate for themselves. By stealing my boots, Kate said, understanding now. By taking something you needed and seeing how you would react, Syra confirmed. If you were the monster from the stories, you would have become angry, perhaps violent. Instead, you laughed. You spoke to them gently. You gave them gifts. The elder's gaze was sharp. Why? Kate knelt down so she was at eye level with the cubs. Because they are children, she said simply. On Earth, we have a saying. It takes a village to raise a child. It means that protecting and caring for the young is not just the job of parents. It is what a society does. It is what makes us civilized. Even predators, Syra asked. Especially predators, Kate replied. Humans have strong parental instincts. We protect cubs, all cubs, not just our own species. It is part of what made us successful. We formed packs and tribes and communities. We cared for each other's young. The cub with white markings made a trilling sound and came close to Kate. Pressing its head against her knee, Kate gently stroked its fur. This is what the Coalition fears most, Syra said softly. Not your weapons or your ships or your predator nature. This, your ability to inspire trust even in those who should fear you. Before Kate could respond, there was noise at the entrance to the exhibition hall. Tekvar and several other council members entered. Their body language showed alarm. They stopped when they saw Kate kneeling among the Rithani cubs. This is highly inappropriate, Tekvar said. His translator made his voice sound sharp. The human must step away from the young ones immediately. The human has a name, Captain Hayes said, moving to stand beside Kate. And she has done nothing wrong. She has influenced prey species children, another council member said. This one was from the water species called Selthine. Its voice bubbled. This is the beginning of domestication. The word hung in the air like an accusation. Kate stood slowly, her hands raised in a peaceful gesture. Council members, I understand your concern. But what you are describing is not what is happening here. The cubs came to me. They were curious. I simply responded with kindness. Kindness, Tekvar repeated. Or grooming behavior. Building trust so that later the prey will not run when the predator attacks. Kate felt anger flash through her, hot and bright. She took a breath, forcing it down. With respect, Council Leader, that is insulting. Not just to me, but to humans as a species. We are capable of real kindness. We can care for other beings without an ulterior motive, and can you? The Selthine Council member rippled with agitation. Or is this simply what your instincts tell you? Predators often play with their prey before the kill. Dr. Grant stepped forward. Her voice was calm but firm. Council members, I think we need to examine the assumptions behind this conversation. You have labeled humans as predators and assigned us predator behaviors based on your understanding of your own ecosystems. But Earth's evolution was different. Humans did not just hunt. We also gathered food. We cooperated. We formed complex social bonds. Yes, we have predator instincts, but we also have caretaker instincts. We have empathy. We have the capacity for love that extends beyond our own species. Words, Tekvar said. We need evidence, not promises. Syra, who had been silent during the exchange, finally spoke. Then observe. Let the human continue to interact with the cubs under supervision. Document the interactions. Study them scientifically. Is that not what the Coalition prides itself on? Understanding based on evidence? The council members talked among themselves in a series of clicks, whistles, and bubbles that the translators could not quite handle. Finally, Tekvar turned back to face the humans. Very well. Lieutenant Commander Morrison, you will be permitted to continue interacting with the Rithani cubs. However, these interactions will be monitored and recorded. At the first sign of predatory behavior, the experiment will end immediately and your delegation will be asked to leave Carveth Prime. Kate nodded, though she did not like being called an experiment. Understood, Council Leader. As the council members left, Syra came close to Kate once more. You have given us a gift, human, though you may not realize it yet. You have given us the opportunity to face our own fears and prejudices. Whatever happens, know that some of us are grateful. Kate watched as the elder led the cubs away. Their small faces turned back to look at her with what she hoped was trust rather than fear. She had come to Carveth Prime as a diplomat and scientist. She had not expected to become a test case for humanity's soul. The next 2 weeks fell into a strange routine. Every evening, Kate would return to her room to find the cubs waiting for her. Their visits were now officially allowed but heavily monitored. Cameras had been installed in her room. A rotating team of coalition observers watched from a nearby space, writing down every interaction. Kate felt like a specimen in a zoo, but she understood why it was necessary. The coalition needed proof that humans could be trusted around vulnerable species, so she worked on creating that proof, one gentle interaction at a time. The cubs, whom Kate had learned were named Pip, Mora, and Len, brought their friends. Soon, instead of 3 cubs, there were 7, then 10, then 15. The cubs would tumble through the vent each evening, bringing toys and treasures wanting attention and play. Kate learned their individual personalities. Pip, the silver and blue one, was bold and mischievous. He was always the first to try new things. Mora, with her white markings, was gentle and affectionate. She often fell asleep curled against Kate's leg. Len, the red-brown cub, was curious about everything. He was constantly investigating Kate's equipment and asking questions through the increasingly good translator. What is this? Len asked one evening, holding up Kate's datapad. That is a computer, Kate explained, sitting cross-legged on the floor while cubs climbed over her. It stores information and helps me communicate with people far away. Like telepathy? Pip asked, his ears pointed forward. Sort of, but it uses technology instead of biology. Here, let me show you. Kate pulled up some images from Earth. She showed them forests and oceans, cities and mountains, animals and people. The cubs crowded around, making excited chittering sounds. They were especially interested in pictures of Earth's predators. That is a wolf, Kate explained, showing them an image of a gray wolf. They are related to dogs, which are animals humans domesticated thousands of years ago. You made predators into pets? Mora asked, her voice small. We made them into friends, Kate corrected. We helped each other. They helped us hunt. We gave them food and shelter. Eventually, they became part of our families. The council says domestication is exploitation, Len said. But his tone was questioning rather than accusing. Kate thought carefully about her words, knowing that the observers were recording everything. Sometimes it has been. Humans have made mistakes. We have treated animals poorly. But at its best, domestication is a partnership. Both species benefit. Both species change. We shaped dogs, and dogs shaped us too. They made us better hunters and better survivors. We learned responsibility and compassion from caring for them. Are you trying to domesticate us? Pip asked bluntly. The question hung in the air. Kate looked at the cub seriously. No, Pip. Domestication is a process that takes thousands of years and involves genetic changes. What I am doing is just being kind to cubs who visited me. I am sharing my space and my time because I want to, not because I expect anything in return. But you are a predator, Mora said softly. You could hurt us. I could, Kate agreed. Just like you could bite me with those sharp little teeth or scratch me with your claws. But we choose not to hurt each other. That is what makes us people, not just animals. We can choose. One of the cubs, a small male named Tick, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. My parent says humans are dangerous because they do not follow instinct. They make choices that do not make sense. Why, what kind of choices? Kate asked. Like caring for other species' cubs. Like going into space even though you evolved on the ground. Like making friends with prey when you could eat them instead. Kate laughed softly. When you put it that way, I suppose we are pretty strange. But those choices that do not make sense are what made humans successful. We adapted. We changed. We did not let our nature define our destiny. Dr. Grant had been standing in the doorway watching. Now she stepped inside. May I join you? The cubs tensed slightly at the appearance of another human, but Kate nodded. Everyone, this is Dr. Lisa Grant. She studies how different species communicate. Lisa, these are my friends. Lisa sat down carefully, keeping her movements slow and careful. I have been watching your interactions with Lieutenant Commander Morrison. I wanted to tell you something important. Do you know what makes a good predator? The cubs looked at each other uncertainly. Pip finally answered. Sharp teeth? Fast legs? Those help, Lisa agreed. But the best predators are smart. They understand their prey. They can predict behavior and recognize patterns. Humans evolved to be very, very good at understanding other species. That sounds frightening, Mora whispered. It can be, Lisa said honestly. But here is the thing. That same ability, that deep understanding of other minds, is also what makes us empathetic. We can look at another being and understand what they are feeling, what they need. We can imagine ourselves in their position. She pulled out her own data pad and showed them images of human children playing with various animals. There were puppies, kittens, rabbits, even deer and birds. These are human cubs. We teach them to be gentle with other species from a very young age. We teach them that being strong means protecting those who are weaker. Not all humans learn this, Tick pointed out. We have heard stories, wars, violence, extinctions. You are right, Kate said. Not all humans are kind. Some of us forget what we should be. Some of us let fear or anger or greed control our choices. That is why we have to keep teaching each cub, each new generation, to choose compassion. Is that what you are doing with us? Len asked. Teaching us? Kate smiled. No, little one. I think you are teaching me. The evening continued with games and stories. Kate taught the cubs a simple human hand-clapping game, which they changed for paws with great enthusiasm. They in turn showed her Raithani games that involved hiding and seeking. They used their natural camouflage abilities to blend into shadows. When the cubs finally left, yawning and tired, Lisa stayed behind. The coalition observers are divided, she said quietly. Some see exactly what we want them to see. Peaceful coexistence, real affection. Others see confirmation of their fears. What do they fear? Kate asked. That you are too good at this, that you are showing predator patience, that you are building trust that could later be used as a weapon. Lisa sighed. They are terrified of human soft power, Kate. They can understand guns and ships. They cannot understand how you have gotten prey species cubs to trust you completely in less than 2 weeks. Kate looked at the pile of toys and gifts the cubs had left behind. Maybe that is the lesson they need to learn. That trust is not a weapon. It is a bridge. Let us hope they cross it, Lisa said. Because if they do not, this whole diplomatic mission might collapse. The days passed in a blur of diplomatic meetings and evening visits from the cubs. Kate found herself living 2 lives. During the day, she was Lieutenant Commander Morrison, representing humanity in complex negotiations about trade routes and technology sharing. At night, she was simply Kate, the strange predator who played games and told stories to furry children. The cubs grew bolder. They started bringing not just toys, but questions. They wanted to know everything about Earth and humans. What did human cubs eat? How did they play? What scared them? What made them happy? Kate answered every question honestly. She showed them pictures of human children. She explained human customs and holidays. She taught them simple words in English, and they taught her words in their own language. One evening, a new cub arrived with the group. This one was smaller than the others, barely a foot long, with pale yellow fur. The cub stayed at the back of the group, watching Kate with wide, frightened eyes. This is Nira, Pip explained. Her parents said she could not come, but we brought her anyway. She's very scared of predators. Kate understood the test. If she could win over the most frightened cub, it would prove something important. She sat very still and spoke very softly. Hello, Nira. You do not have to come close if you do not want to. You can stay right there and watch. That is okay. Nira did not move. The other cubs played around Kate as usual, but she kept her attention partly on the small yellow cub. She did not look directly at Nira, knowing that predator eye contact could be threatening. Instead, she let the cub observe. After about 20 minutes, Kate pulled out a datapad and started showing the cubs pictures of baby animals from Earth. There were puppies and kittens, but also baby deer, rabbits, and birds. Prey animals, these are fawns, Kate explained, showing a picture of a spotted baby deer. They are born with spots that help them hide in the forest. Their mothers leave them alone during the day and come back to feed them at night. Slowly, Very slowly, Nira crept forward. She wanted to see the pictures. Kate pretended not to notice, continuing to show images to the other cubs. When Nira was close enough to see the screen, Kate angled it slightly so the small cub could see better. "Do humans hunt these babies?" Nira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Some humans do," Kate said honestly, "but many humans protect them. We have laws that say you cannot hunt baby animals. We have people whose job is to rescue baby animals who are hurt or lost. We have sanctuaries where they can live safely." "Why?" Nira asked. "If you are predators, why would you protect prey?" Kate thought about how to explain this in simple terms. "Because we are not just predators, Nira. We are also caretakers. Humans feel a strong urge to protect small, helpless things. When we see a baby animal, even a prey animal, our first instinct is not to hunt it. Our first instinct is to make sure it is safe and cared for." Mora, who was curled up next to Kate, added, "She tells the truth. Kate has had many chances to hurt us, and she never has. She only protects and plays." Nira studied Kate for a long moment. Then, in a movement so quick Kate almost missed it, the small cub darted forward and touched Kate's hand with her nose before retreating to safety. Kate smiled, keeping her lips closed. "Thank you for being brave, Nira. That took courage." The other cubs chittered with approval. Pip climbed onto Kate's shoulder, which had become his favorite spot. "You are not like the stories say predators are," he announced. "What do the stories say?" Kate asked. "That predators are cold, that they only think about hunting and eating, that they have no feelings except hunger and anger." Len settled beside Kate, his red-brown fur warm against her leg. "But you are not cold. You laugh, you play, you get sad when one of us is scared." "Predators can have feelings," Kate said gently. "All animals can. Even the predators on Earth care for their young, play with each other, and feel sadness and joy. Being a predator does not mean being a monster." Tick, who always asked the difficult questions, spoke up. "But the Coalition says humans are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. They say humans killed many species on their own planet. They say humans make weapons that can destroy whole worlds." Kate nodded slowly. "That is all true. Humans have done terrible things. We drove species to extinction. We fought wars with each other. We created weapons that could end all life on Earth, but we also stopped. We realized what we were doing was wrong. We made laws to protect endangered species. We started working together instead of fighting. We decided that just because we could do something did not mean we should. Can the Coalition trust that?" Tick pressed. "That humans will choose to be good?" "I do not know," Kate said honestly. "I cannot speak for all humans. I can only speak for myself. I can only show you who I am, and hope that you will judge me on my actions, not on stories or fears." The small room fell quiet. The cubs looked at each other, having one of their silent conversations. Finally, Syrah's voice came from the doorway. Kate turned to see the elder standing there watching. "How long have you been there?" Kate asked. "Long enough," Syrah replied. She entered the room, and the cubs immediately ran to her, chattering excitedly about the pictures and games. Sarah listened patiently, then turned to Kate. "The council will make their decision soon. They have been watching these interactions for 2 weeks. They have enough data." Kate felt her heart beat faster. "What do you think they will decide?" "I do not know," Syrah admitted. "The council is deeply divided. Some see what I see. A human who genuinely cares for cubs that are not her own species. A predator who has chosen to be a protector. Others see manipulation and danger. They believe you are too good at inspiring trust, and that makes you more dangerous, not less." "What do you see?" Kate asked. Syrah looked at the cubs playing around Kate's feet, at the pile of toys and gifts, at the way even frightened little Nira now stood close to the human. "I see hope," the elder said softly. "I see the possibility of a future where predator and prey can coexist without fear. But I also see why that terrifies the council. If humans can do this, if you can win the trust of prey species so completely, it changes everything we thought we knew about the nature of predators." "Is that bad?" Kate asked. "It is unknown," Syrah replied. "And the unknown is always frightening. The council must decide if they are willing to take a chance on humans, if they are willing to believe that evolution is not destiny, and that choice matters more than instinct." Kate looked down at Pip, who had fallen asleep on her shoulder, his small body warm and trusting. She thought about all the cubs who had overcome their natural fear to visit her. She thought about the gifts they had brought and the games they had played. She thought about how their laughter sounded and how their fur felt soft under her fingers. I hope they choose to trust us, Kate said quietly, not for my sake but for theirs. Because if they cannot see past their fear, they will miss out on friendship. And that would be a loss for everyone. Syra gathered the cubs, preparing to take them home. Mora hugged Kate goodbye, and even Nira touched her hand one more time before leaving. When they were gone, Kate sat alone in her room, surrounded by alien toys and the evidence of friendship. Dr. Grant appeared in the doorway again. Tomorrow is the final evaluation, she said. The council will announce their decision about humanity's application to join the coalition. I know, Kate said. Whatever happens, you have done something amazing here, Lisa continued. You have shown that humans are capable of genuine cross-species empathy, that we can put aside our predator nature and choose kindness. That should count for something. I hope it counts for everything, Kate replied, looking at the small carved stone that started it all, still sitting on her bedside table. Tomorrow would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. Tonight, she could only hope that friendship and trust were stronger than fear. The final evaluation took place 3 weeks after Kate's first encounter with the cubs. The entire human delegation was called to the council chambers. This time, the room was not just filled with the local council. Representatives from a dozen coalition species had gathered. The room was packed with beings of every shape and description. There were tall, crystalline creatures, cloud-like gas beings held in special suits, small insects, and many others. Kate stood at the center of it all, feeling very small and very human. Tekvar spoke first. We have observed the interactions between Lieutenant Commander Morrison and the Rithani cubs extensively. We have analyzed the data. We have talked with experts in predator and prey relationships. We have debated the implications. Now we must give our judgment. Kate's heart pounded. Everything humans had worked for, all the diplomatic progress hung in the balance. The evidence is troubling, Tekvar continued. In just 3 weeks, the human has formed strong bonds with not just 3 cubs, but 15. The cubs show no fear. They seek out the human's presence. They have even begun to copy human behaviors. A council member Kate did not recognize, something that looked like an armored centipede, spoke up. This is classic grooming behavior. The predator builds trust, makes the prey feel safe, then attacks when the prey is most vulnerable. Except that she has not attacked, Syra said firmly. The Rithani elder stood among the council observers, her amber fur gleaming in the chamber lights. 3 weeks of constant observation, and not once has the human shown aggression. Not once has she tried to harm a cub. Yet, another voice argued, patience is a predator's strength. Captain Hayes stepped forward. With respect, council members, you are judging Lieutenant Commander Morrison and by extension all of humanity, based on fear rather than evidence. The evidence shows nothing but kindness and care. The evidence shows that humans are dangerously good at inspiring trust, the Selthine council member said. This makes them potentially more dangerous, not less. The debate went on for over an hour. Kate stood silently, listening to beings argue about whether her species was too kind to be trusted. The irony was not lost on her. Finally, Tekvar raised a limb for silence. There is one more piece of evidence to consider. Elder Sira, if you would? Sira stepped forward, and behind her came a flood of small, furry bodies. All 15 cubs entered the council chamber. Their eyes were wide as they looked at the assembled coalition representatives. They moved as a group toward Kate, gathering around her legs, seeking her protection in the face of so many large, strange beings. Kate immediately knelt down, placing herself between the cubs and the council. One hand gently steadied Mora, who was shaking. This, Syra said, is what you must consider. The cubs were brought here directly from a play session. They were not told where they were going or who would be here. Yet when faced with a room full of their own species leaders, plus dozens of species they have been taught to respect and trust, what do? They go to the human. They seek protection from a predator because that predator has shown them, again and again, that she will keep them safe. The chamber fell silent. The question before this council, Syra continued, is not whether humans are predators. They are. The question is whether being a predator prevents being a protector, friend, and ally. I believe the cubs have already answered this question. A new voice spoke, this one deep and powerful. A being Kate had not seen before moved forward. It was massive and covered in scales. I am Korth, representative of the Draken hegemony. My species are also predators. We have watched this debate with great interest. Tekvar's antennas twitched nervously. The Draken have remained neutral in coalition affairs for centuries. Why speak now? Because we see ourselves in the humans, Korth rumbled. We too are hunters. We too have been feared. But we learned long ago that true strength lies not in hunting the weak, but in protecting them. We have been allies with prey species for 2,000 years. We have never broken that trust. Korth fixed his massive eyes on Tekvar. The coalition was built on a lie, that predators cannot be trusted. We Draken have proven otherwise, and humans will too if you give them the chance. Or you can reject them and lose the opportunity to learn from a species that developed empathy and technology at the same time. Your choice will define the coalition's future. The council members talked among themselves again, but Kate could sense a shift in the room's energy. Finally, Tekvar spoke. The council has reached a decision. By a narrow margin, we have voted to accept humanity's request for coalition membership. However, there will be conditions. Kate let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. Humans will undergo a trial period of 5 standard years. Tekvar continued. During this time, you will be monitored closely. You will be required to participate in cultural exchange programs, allowing other species to learn about you as the Rithani cubs have. Any act of aggression by any human against any coalition species will result in immediate removal. We accept these terms, Captain Hayes said formally. There is one more condition, Tekvar added, and Kate thought his mouthparts might have quirked in what could be amusement. Lieutenant Commander Morrison will be assigned as humanity's first cultural integration officer. She will live among coalition species, particularly those who most fear humans, and show that predators can be trusted. Kate blinked. I accept. The cubs at her feet made excited chittering sounds. Pip tugged on her uniform. Does this mean you are staying? Kate looked down at the small furry faces looking up at her with such trust and affection. She thought about her mission, her career, her life back on Earth. Then she thought about what she could do here, building bridges between species, teaching through example that evolution did not have to define destiny. Yes, she said, smiling. I am staying. The council chamber erupted in noise. There were clicks, whistles, burbles, and sounds Kate had no words for. Some were clearly protests, others celebration. But through it all, Syra came close to Kate and placed a paw on her arm. You have given my people a great gift, Kate Morrison. You have shown our cubs that fear is learned, not natural. That trust can exist between predator and prey. This is the beginning of something new. I hope so, Kate said softly. That evening, back in her quarters, Kate found herself surrounded by cubs once more. But this time they were not hiding or testing her. They were celebrating, bringing not just toys but items of real value. There were family treasures, precious stones, and handmade crafts. These are gifts of bonding, Syra explained, having come with the cubs. In Rithani culture, we give such things to those we consider family. Kate looked at the pile of treasures and felt tears in her eyes. I do not know what to say. Say you will remember us, Mora said, pressing close. When you go to live with other species, teaching them not to fear humans, remember that we loved you first. Kate pulled the small cub into a gentle embrace. I could never forget. You taught me something important too. You taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing trust despite fear. You were all so brave visiting me those first nights, not knowing if I would hurt you. We knew, Pip said confidently. Your eyes are kind. Predator eyes are supposed to be cold and mean. Yours are warm. Human eyes, Len added thoughtfully, are different. They look at you and see a person, not prey. Kate stayed up late that night playing with the cubs, telling them stories of Earth and listening to their tales of Carveth Prime. When they finally left, tumbling through the vent with promises to visit tomorrow, Kate sat among the gifts and toys and felt something she had not expected to find in space. She felt at home. Her communicator made a sound. It was a message from Fleet Command on Earth marked urgent. Kate opened it expecting orders or questions about the Council's decision. Instead, she found a simple text message from Admiral Patricia Chen, head of the Diplomatic Corps. The message said, Well done, Lieutenant Commander. You did not just represent humanity. You showed us what humanity can be. Your species is proud of you. Kate looked around her quarters, at the evidence of cubs' visits and play, at the cultural barrier she had crossed simply by being kind. Tomorrow she would begin the formal process of becoming humanity's voice in the coalition. She would face doubt, fear, and probably hostility from species who would never fully trust predators. But tonight she had 15 small, furry friends who had taught an entire galactic civilization that trust could be stronger than instinct, that perhaps humans were not the monsters their evolution suggested they should be. Kate turned off her datapad and smiled. Her boots sat by the door exactly where she had left them. She had a feeling they would be safe there from now on. After all, the cubs had found something far more valuable to collect. They had found friendship with the predator who laughed instead of growling, and who proved that teeth and claws were less important than the choice to be kind. The galaxy was vast, and the coalition was ancient, but humanity had finally found its place among the stars. Not through conquest or threats, but through the simple act of one woman showing compassion to cubs who had every reason to fear her, and choosing instead to trust. The journey was just beginning, but Kate Morrison, predator, protector,